nidapa pagari ri sa ni nidapa mada pagari sagari gama padani sari gari ri sa ni nidapa gari sagari gama padani sari gari ri sa ni nidapa da pagari. Pada gama ga sa 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 ni da pada pama ga pada sa pada sa pama ga pada pada sari sari sani da pama ga pada sari gama ga sa 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 ni da pada gama ga sa 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 ni da pada pama ga pada sa pada sa.
So here we have our two persons, engineering and CEO and the business development. He has 35 years of experience in the foundation and selecting network. He also has potential managing director of ENEP and Maharashtra. Also serves as the chief engineer in Tamil Nadu Generation and Distribution Corporation.
நாலு பேரு வெளில வந்துட்டான்னா துணி தெரியல வருவா
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for spending your time. A quick request to put your phone on silent mode, please. And I would now request Jayashree, please come on the stage and give the welcome speech.
Good afternoon, everyone. Super happy to welcome you all to this unique event put together by the startup cell of FLO Chennai. I welcome our FLO members and special invitees. A warm welcome to the FLO members pan-India who have joined us through virtual platforms, and to the committee members of the national startup team headed by Aarti Gupta. I also extend a warm welcome to Group Captain, Mr. Vijay Kumar, Executive Director, Madras Management Association. Thank you, sir, for helping us bring this event together at this venue. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your participation. We had to keep the numbers limited in tandem with the COVID protocols and social distancing norms. Please to wear your masks at all times and stay safe. To those of you who are new to FLO, FLO is a pan-India organization established in 1983. Our goal being to assist our women folk achieve a life of their dreams. As an all-India organization for women, FLO has 18 chapters all over India, and we hope to promote economic empowerment and opportunities for women. In short, FLO is women transforming India through industry, trade, and innovation. Now, today's event comprises of 2 sessions, and the first session is a panel discussion. We proudly present 4 FLO members, 4 successful women in their respective fields: an angel investor, an entrepreneur, the head of a non-profit organization, the director of an age-old company, and founder of a popular Ayurvedic brand. These 4 women will be sharing their journey with us, and we have in conversation with them our own member, Priya Gautam, who is also a part of the National Startup Committee. I'm excited as much as all of you gathered here today to lend a ear to these success stories. We all keep learning and evolving every day through our shared life experiences. And when you get a chance like this to listen to others narrating their interesting journey, you get inspired and something might strike a chord, something might touch you deep within, and you realize that there are things you learn from others' experience that will truly help you pick your battles in this life wisely. I'm sure each one of you will find something unique and interesting to take away. And do stay on for the high tea, which is served at the end of the 2 sessions. Now, I invite our panelists, Ms. Jaydevi Cholayan, Ms. Raji Raju, Ms. Mahima Podar, Ms. Garima Agarwal, and Priya Gautam.
Good afternoon, one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Garima. Garima is a passion-driven mompreneur who founded Peekaboo Patterns back in 2005. Born and raised in Kolkata, she built her brand in Chennai over years of perseverance. A productive day is her ikigai, although traveling, meeting people, and spiritual courses have been her mojo. There is never a dull moment, she claims, while engaging with a team or clients. Learning through mistakes while surviving through highs and lows is an inspiring success story of her brand. Best known for design, manufacturing, and retail, it also curates products from over 40 national and international brands. Its flagship store is a mecca of cute things that are customizable. A natural multitasker, she has an eye for detail and a thirst for perfection. Inclined towards creativity since her childhood, one can easily find that in all her work, one of the accolades of her professional journey has been winning the Good Homes Award for Children's Solutions and Kids Top Best Award for Best Kids Decor and Furniture. Although she believes her biggest reward has been meeting clients from different walks of life while building strong bonds over the years. Interacting on a personal level with celebrities while designing their kids' rooms or with vendors and experts has been a catalyst to her personal growth. In fact, she never forgets to mention being not only the kids brand, but also the only brand from Chennai who participated in India Design Delhi. It was a brave attempt. My satisfaction lies in spreading awareness about conscious parenting through my businesses. There is nothing I love more than nurturing young parents with handy tips. It is the best feeling to make a difference with our products and services. So to quote, 2021 was a momentous year for her with the branching into Peekaboo Interiors, India's first exclusive show home for kids that has 7 experiential and dramatically different themed rooms. It offers ready-to-pick furniture, furnishing, and accessories, along with turnkey interior projects for kids' spaces. The quiet moments of the first few lockdowns are the inspiration to partner with her family business of apparel export. 2021 also saw the launch of Bootiful, a brand for smart casual clothing for children. Why beautiful? Because Peekaboo believes that every child is beautiful. Ever since, she is busy growing her team, and it seems there is no looking back from here. We are currently working on our website to start selling internationally. Also, increase business turnover by reselling the in-house products on multiple platforms. Welcome. I also do take immense pleasure in introducing Mahima Poddar. Mahima is a social entrepreneur, the founder of Kindness Foundation, an expressive art therapy practitioner, and a child abuse awareness and prevention expert. Mahima is a perpetual optimist. At her very core lies the belief that we are all born with an infinite capacity for kindness and deep compassion. She believes that even the simple act of talking about kindness and highlighting other stories and journeys can inspire people to become the best version of themselves. That's really true. As a trained child abuse awareness and prevention expert, Mahima has also conducted over 100 workshops across India where she believes that in order to keep our children truly safe, we need to think and work as a community and not as individual units. She is also a champion of compassionate communication and has run several workshops and training programs that help people communicate more peacefully and mindfully. She has initiated several pioneering programs like the Kindness Week, that is sharing experiences, the Kindness Vouchers, gifting experiences, Kind Campus, Empathy at Education Curriculum, Kindness Speaks, Voice of the Youth, Kindness Gallery, Voices of the Artists, the Kindness Brigade, Identifying Kindness Ambassadors, Youth Internship Program, Kindness All-in fundraising workshops by experts that aim to transform the world by invoking the innate nature of kindness in every human being and encouraging kinder communities. Her brainchild, the International Kindness Festival, saw its first edition held in March this year, a global symposium on the science, politics, ethics, and practicality of everyday kindness. The International Kindness Festival brought together visionary progressionists through thought leaders and change makers from various fields to brainstorm all things kindness. She is the founder of the Kindness Foundation, a non-profit thinking organization with one simple yet powerful vision, that is to create compassionate communities worldwide. Through events, workshops, and programs, Team Kindness at the foundation work every single day to plant seeds of kind thoughts in children and adults from all walks of life. They break stereotypes and expand perspectives on kindness, philanthropy, and charity, all in the hope of inspiring action and creating a safer, more content world. Mahima's inspirational work with the foundation has been featured in The Hindu, DT Next, New Indian Express, and various news online websites and publications, the News Minute and the Quint. She also has been a part of a panel on child sexual abuse and women's safety with the likes of Dr. Sashi Tharoor and activist Nehla Rashid. I would now like to invite Asha Ravi to introduce him. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. I take great pleasure in introducing our next panelist, our very own FLO member, EC member, Ms. Raji Raju, who heads the startup cell of FLO Chennai. Raji Raju holds an undergrad degree in business and computers from USA, in addition to a bachelor's degree in psychology from India. Joint promoter of Vetri Software, along with her husband Raju Venkatraman in Michigan. She worked in various capacities, including marketing and business development. Vetri Software Private Limited was a pioneer in BPO and IT development, employing over 5,000 people in India and the USA. Customers included United Healthcare, LexisNexis, Thomson Publishing, Blue Cross Blue Shield Michigan, and several other HMOs. She's also an angel investor in Marketing Associates, Ether Energy and Kara Details, and many more. Raji served as the PTA president in the American International School, Chennai, and is an active member of the AISC community. Raji and her husband Raju are also active members of the Young Presidents Organization. They joined the organization in the Detroit chapter and later transferred their membership to the Chennai chapter when they relocated to India as a family in 2002. She has served the YPO Regional Committee as well as the YPO Chennai Executive Committee and has started numerous forums both locally and nationally. Raji believes in giving back to the community and has worked with several organizations, including Isha Foundation, Alert, and Andhra Mahila Sabha. Raji is passionate about arts and is a trained classical music singer, a Bharatanatyam dancer, and a choreographer. She has 2 children, and she chose to give up her professional career to raise them and look after her aged parents and in-laws, like all other selfless Indian mothers. Her hobbies include playing badminton, reading, and listening to all genres of music. She's deeply spiritual and believes in celebrating life every day. Welcome back. Our next panelist is Mrs. Jayadevi Chole. Mrs. Jayadevi, who is the EC member of FLO Chennai. She's the co-chair of the Handlooms and Handicrafts vertical as well. She's the founder of Julaha, a clothing brand manufacturing kalamkari, batik, hand-painted apparels, thereby creating employment for many women in Chennai and promoting this handcrafted art form. Jaya, as she's fondly known, has worked very closely with the Crafts Council of India to preserve and promote traditional Indian handicrafts and textiles. She's also the co-founder of Sadev, the luxury Ayurveda brand, making exotic personal care products with the Ayurvedic knowledge passed on to her family over a period of 200 years. She's founded the Farm to Table, an organic store which deals with the organic produce from the Acholail farm, thereby promoting healthy living. Being a strong proponent of alternate healing, she has learned Ayurveda and various other modalities of energy healing as well. She takes care of the functioning of the Ayurvedic clinic Sadayush in Chennai. Being very empathetic, she also supports various old age homes, orphanages, cow and dog shelters across Chennai. She is very passionate about tree planting and follows the Miyawaki method and has planted more than 21,000 trees so far, individually as well as with the Prasiddhi Foundation in Chennai. From working closely in the family business and being a crusader for empowerment of women and education for children in their adopted village, Jayadevi has also traveled extensively around the world, collecting stories, savoring their food, culture, experiences, and creating fond memories. Welcome, Jayadevi. I would like to introduce our event moderator for the day, Ms. Priya Gautam, who's also a member of FLO Chennai. She heads the startup initiative, national startup initiative. Priya Gautam's core strength lies in the field of marketing, strategy, and technology. She has an enviable 20 years of multifaceted experience, which includes setting up of new businesses and startup to scale up expertise in small, medium, and large enterprises. Her international experience includes working in the US, ideating for a large edu city close to Chennai. She is now taken up position as strategic consultant and director of education with Virginia Tech, India. Her love for technology drew her into accepting many challenging roles, which include being an entrepreneur in residence with the role of being the CMO of a global technology company. Her entrepreneurial streak had her partnering in digital venture, while also setting up co-working spaces, both of which she modestly calls success stories. She has won several accolades during her career and has also been featured in the 100 MSME inspirational stories released by the Honorable Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, in the year 2020. She has been the ambassador for Chennai for Facebook's initiative called She Leads Tech. Currently heads the National FLO Startup Cell, virtual incubator and mentoring vertical since 2021. Her educational qualifications include a bachelor's degree from Osmania University, and she's also an alumnus of the IIM Bangalore. I now invite Priya to proceed with the moderation.
Thank you. Whoa, what a panel I have with me, and a lovely evening for the rest of them who are going to watch them speak as we unravel the secrets, I think, for most of them as to how successful they are. So I'm so glad that I'm doing this, and it's a physical event after a long time. It's lovely to meet you all. The format of the questions are going to be that I'm going to pass it around so that it's a lot more interactive. And if you have anything in between that you want to speak, you could, probably take the mic and do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first question is for Garima. So Garima, as we heard, she has a brand called Peekaboo. But we were wondering, it's good to know as to how was it about founding Peekaboo and what was your intention behind starting Peekaboo? Over to you, Garima.
Can you hear me? I founded Peekaboo in 2005. Although I studied fashion design and had an opportunity of joining my husband's apparel export business, something deep inside me didn't agree with that, and I was constantly looking out for something unique and something that would be my own. And this opportunity came knocking at my door when I was doing up my kids' rooms, and I couldn't find the right kind of furnishings, or my aesthetic sense wasn't matching anything that was available back then in India. And I designed all of it on my own, and I realized that that's something that I really want to do and give it to all the other children who don't have access to these, customized products. So that's how Peekaboo happened.
Lovely. I think I might want to ask you this question. Why did the name Peekaboo come?
That's a sweet question. So the first thing I was looking for was curtains. And back in those days, there weren't many options for children. And me being from a creative background, I found it very hard to like certain prints which were, not so pleasing to me. So I designed curtains. And, when you playfully interact with a child, you often hide and seek and play peekaboo. So my first product was curtains and window dressing for children, and hence the name Peekaboo.
Thanks, Garima. So the question why I asked this was, they say in marketing, the simple principle is you call A's for Apple and people remember. So that's probably the story I wanted the entrepreneurs to know, that make the name very simple so that you're able to understand. Thanks a lot, Garima, for that. I switch over my next question to Jaya. So Jaya, you have been in the family business, but you also got married and came into the family. So can you let us know about your decision to join your family business, which is totally different from what you did in the past, I guess?
Yeah. Audible?
Yeah.
I got married at the age of 19 and came to Chennai. And after some time, I started doing the textile designing. I started creating the batik and kalamkari. And there were more than 50 families of women who were getting employed. And I was very happy doing that. So it's around that time that both my husband and my father-in-law, they both told me, why don't you start coming to the office? And I was always a curious person. I wanted to learn. So any opportunity to learn, I never said no. I thought, let me go and try it out. And we used to have a monthly board meetings. So they told me to attend that. So when I went there, it was an open, a new world for me, because there was so much of learning from there. I could understand how the Cholel organization was run, how the Medimix team was functioning. There was so much of learning for me. And I am a pure science graduate, and I had no clue about accounts and marketing, nothing. So I used to ask whatever doubt I had, I used to ask them. I never used to feel shy about asking questions. If I don't know, I'll tell them, please explain. So they were more than happy to explain things to me. So in a couple of months, both my husband and father-in-law, they told, like, why don't you start going to the R&D? I told, I don't know anything about R&D. What will I do then? They told, it's okay, you can go and find out. Then I thought, okay, if they had telling me to go to R&D, place like R&D, maybe they would have seen something in me which I didn't know about myself. I thought, let me go there and explore. And we had amazing scientists there. And I told them, I come here to learn from each and every one of you. And they were more than happy to teach me. And that's how my journey started with the family business. From there, every step that I take, Like it was always a beautiful journey. Even now, there was another vertical in the family which was run by my father-in-law. It was an Ayurvedic medicine making factory. And it was after my father-in-law's demise, no one was taking care of it, and it was going downhill. So another senior management person told, we cannot run a vertical when it's making loss, whereas Cholil is pumping money every month. We cannot do that. Then they wanted to close it. I told my husband, without even focusing on that, we cannot close the unit. It is an amazing medicine. I mean, all the Ayurvedic medicines are amazing. Let me give it a try. Just give me 1 year. So after 1 year, we'll take a call. Then I sat with our team and Ayurvedic doctors. Out of the 45 medicines, we just segregated just 20 of that. We thought we'll focus on that 20 and did some more new products. And we started doing online. And now the factory is doing great. And even the factory workers are so happy, they're grateful. They're coming and telling me that they're so grateful that their livelihood is safe now. They don't have to fear anymore. So these are some of the changes which I made after joining the family business.
Lovely. I mean, it's so inspiring to see that you didn't know what you had to, what was in future for you, and you came and you just conquered that. You know, I think that's a message I would take from this, your work in Medimix and how you've developed it. Thanks a lot, Jay. I'll come back to you. My next question is for Raji. So there is a very vibrant ecosystem today, but it was not so much when you founded your company, Vetri, along with your husband. In your opinion, what role does an ecosystem play in helping startups, Raji?
Yes, the ecosystem does play a very important role. In fact, today the ecosystem provides seed, fund, venture capital fund, angel funding, and all of these definitely help the entrepreneur. During our times, we had to pledge in the banks, and we had to go and write up a collateral and all of that. So definitely the ecosystem has been very significantly has helped an entrepreneur, even to avert risks, to build equity. Yeah, so I think today entrepreneurs are much more lucky and yes, than the entrepreneurs much before.
Thanks, Raji. So there's a lot of things today that we hear about, saying that Chennai is going to be, or maybe India is going to be the next unicorn making country, and so on and so forth. Do you think that's true with the kind of entrepreneurs that are happening in India, entrepreneurship that's happening in India, and the entrepreneurs both?
I definitely am somebody who's always hopeful for that to happen. So if you ask me this, I would say definitely yes. In fact, recently we were just discussing a NASSCOM report was chaired by our co-chair, Mala, in our group. And it looks so promising. There are so many startups that have come up during the pandemic, and so much of an increase in the unicorns. And even I would go ahead and say that most of the startups have at least one woman founder. So it was very encouraging to know that. So I do believe that, yes, that's a possibility.
Thanks, Raji. Over to you, Mahima. Her business was something very different, and I never found anything about her. So I was just telling her. So I think it's good for us to also hear where she comes from. So the area that you selected may not particularly among women entrepreneurs was something that people really look forward for. Was there any personal challenges considering you started this foundation, Mahima?
So to start off with, it's not a business, because business by very definition is for profit, and this is a non-profit that we done. And I would say I've been blessed to have a very supportive ecosystem, family environment, and very supportive people who have always stepped forward. Because I truly believe that everybody has goodness in them. You just show them and you ask them, and people are ready to do whatever. So in terms of challenges, human beings have been very supportive. The human quotient has been extremely a big blessing. In fact, the challenges, of course, come in the actual work, the manpower to execute what you want to do, and in the funding, of course, as with any nonprofit. But when I first started it, I was of the opinion that it will be a challenge to get people on board, to convince them of the ideas, because the stuff that we do at the foundation is not as tangible as some of the other nonprofits. We're not into providing food, shelter, and clothing. We're into promoting empathy education, making people kinder. So how do you measure that, right? So, but I have found, and there are people on this panel like Garima who've been big supporters, and I never needed to convince anybody of what we're doing. They just hear the concept and they love it. So in terms of challenges, I would say I've been blessed, and it hasn't been such a hard journey. And it's just, I feel if you put your heart in the right place and you're thinking of the benefit of everyone, then things just happen. It's just not so challenging. The difficult part, of course, is to stay, make sure that you're in compliance. And that is a challenge. So I outsource that. I don't try to get into that, because when you're trying to do good, if you get involved with all the paperwork and all of that, then that just takes away from the work. So just outsource that.
Some things we really can't do, and it requires
Let's
experts.
just accept that.
So looking back, anything that you would have done differently, Mahima?
I don't know if I would do anything differently, but I would say I would do more of some things. I feel like this nonprofit has been years in the making. It's it's been the thought process and inspiration that's taken several years to take birth. And I found that my own children have been very inspiring to me. They have given me ideas which, thoughts that I never thought of, or never thought of it in that way, their perspective. So what I would do more of going back is talk to children more on their perspective on how to do this. I'll give you a small example. You know how most people do food distribution, you adopt an orphanage, and so we used to do that. And this one weekend I asked my younger one, so what shall we take this weekend? Shall we take chocolates? Shall we take toys? What do kids really like? What do kids want to do? And she said, Mama, kids just want to play. And that was such a, a different moment for me. Here we're attaching joy to things, material goods, whereas actually kids, and actually all of us, we want the moments, we want the joyful moments, right? So, and then, there are many such small aha moments, eureka moments for me when my kids just opened my eyes to the smallest and simplest of things. So I feel like if I could go back, I would talk more to not just my kids, but to more kids about what is it that really makes you happy? What is it that, what does kindness mean to you? What is that? So I think that's what I would give voice to, or rather inquire more from the younger generation, the youngest of the young.
It's the voice of the customer, I would say.
Yes,
Thanks a lot, Mahima. Garima, so I've been thinking what to ask you, because there are lots of things that I want to ask you, but what have been your obstacles and challenges, and how did you tide over? I'm sure you went through some process of mentorship, and so I recall this saying that you had some challenges. So I thought it's good for the rest of the budding entrepreneurs or people who are, going through this journey to know what was your journey and challenges.
I don't understand any business that doesn't have challenges. I had plenty, so it would be hard to talk about all of them. The good news is that we all, challenges come in a package. A problem comes packed with a solution. So how soon we find a solution is a trick. There were many challenges. One was I've been always a brick and mortar person, very strong with design and manufacturing, and not so sound with technology, or not so inclined, I would say. And that put us slightly behind times, because in the last few years, maybe even a decade, technology has forefronted everything. And that was a challenge, and how we could get better at that was by outsourcing resources. Also, we are growing our team now this year quite a bit, getting experts and specialists on board. And if it's not my strength, then it can't be my company's weakness. And that understanding was huge. And I'm glad we are almost, surpassing that very soon. Besides the one where we reached out to our, mentoring cell last 2 years back, I think, was because I was all confused with a whole lot of things happening, too many rabbits, typical grown very wide, but I think, the consumers were also confused, and we had chats with my good friend Vanita here, and
I really look up to Hemu, and you were there as well. And just having a few candid chats with my mentors helped me, segregate my business into 3 verticals. And that clarity made such a huge impact on everything. My sales, my turnover, my team is more sorted. They have a better schedule, and I feel a lot more consolidated, yet we have grown. So yeah, it was amazing.
That's wonderful. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot in store for you, but good luck to you with what you're planning to do in future. Yeah? Raji, how technology enablement is relevant to today's business, carrying on from what Garima said?
Very relevant indeed. Technology is very important, especially to reach your customer, whether it is B2B or B2C. As Garima said, you can always outsource it if it need to be, but you need to have those business tools, and there are many available today. There are tools to streamline your production process, manage inventory. There are customer relationship management CRM tools. There are Salesforce tools. It's very important to have these technological tools in your business, whether you outsource them or whether you incorporate them. If you don't, you can't scale your business. It would become very manual.
Thanks, Raji. See, technology is, today we are using phones, but a lot of businesses are happening over the phones, over mobile apps, so many things. I think one needs to sort of look at that more into a part of an integral part of the business itself. Yeah, thanks. So, Jaya, you founded Sadev along with your son. So what was your journey to Sadev from what you did with Medimix? So there's a subtle difference, but yet I think it's a brand. And why did it happen now in this 2000s?
For me, like as I told you, after going to the R&D, I started interacting with all the scientists. And that was the time when I used to meet so many technical persons from all over India and outside India as well. And there used to be different kind of people coming with exotic perfumes, natural isolates, Ayurvedic extracts. And the kind of, even for example, the different kind of butters like shea butter, cocoa butter, mango butter, different kinds of things were there in the market. Then so I told my technical team, why can't we make some soaps out of this? So like me, my technical person, the perfumer, we sat and started formulating different kind of soap like goat milk soap and sandal saffron soap and all that. We made a line of that. And then the aloe vera gel, and then the rose waters. And even because of the natural color, the lip balm that I created. And since I had the boutique, there was one day one customer who came and asked me, you're in the Ayurvedic field, why didn't you start making natural hair color? So that again started making me to think, then I started making natural hair color. And I had the entire range ready. So then I thought, okay, I'll hand it over to Medimix so that they can do it. But they didn't even take me seriously. They thought, okay, I'm doing something. They didn't even know what I was doing. And they were in their own space. And since Medimix is a mass market, they didn't want to get into this also maybe, but actually they didn't even know what I was doing exactly. So then the person with whom I was developing the fragrance, he told, ma'am, you have your own brand. Why don't you launch in your own brand? I thought, yeah, that's a good idea, because since after making the whole thing, I don't want this to just lie in the R&D. So for the packaging and everything, I put money from my textile unit. I started the packaging with a wonderful team. And we did it. And even for sales and marketing, it was only me and my driver. We used to go to the organic stores and tell them to place our products there. And luckily, it went off very well. It took off very well. And there were more and more demand from all over the Chennai, even from outside Chennai, from all over India, people started placing orders with us without me doing any marketing work. So it was around this time that my son came back from US. After his undergrad, he told me, Ma, I'll join you. So when my son joined, then the Chole knew, okay, there's something serious. That's why the son is joining. So then after that, they took notice of it. They told, okay, we'll invest in this brand. And after that, we formed the entire new products altogether with the brand Sadev. The packaging is all hand painted. All that is taken care by my son. The marketing, sales, everything is taken care by him, Laskin. And I take care of the new product development. I sit with our technical team and the Ayurvedic doctors, and we see what is the new product we need to bring it out, because me being a lady, I know exactly what another lady wants. So for me, like, it is more of a gut feeling what when we create the products. So that's the way Sadev journey started. And as it was mentioned, we have the Ayurvedic expertise with us, because my father-in-law's forefathers, they were all Ayurvedic Vaidyas in Kerala. I mean, doctors are called as Vaidyas those days, and they had that Ayurvedic lineage in them, and there are so many formulations which is there with the family. So most of the products what we make, right from Medimix to Sadev, we have those Ayurvedic formulations in that. So that's the story.
Great, great story. And I think they have to take you seriously more, I think, your family now.
Now they started. Yes.
Thank you for that. And Mahima, can you tell us about your decision to, I remember you speaking to me about you having a short stint in the US and something happened with your business there. I think it's a good story that people should know how things can happen suddenly, and maybe it'll be good for you to just,
So, that was another lifetime actually. I was in the US for a decade. And actually, my background, I studied architecture in my undergrad, and 5 years of architecture school, whether they do anything else or not, they drill creativity in a systematic way inside your brain. Once an architect, you don't let that out of you. And so when I got married and I moved there, it was, you're waiting for your visas, you're waiting for something or the other to happen. So I just kind of started a small boutique from my home, and the boutique was more meant to be interiors things to decorate your home. And my cousin said, keep a small rack of clothes to call the people in. People will come in for clothes, they may not come in to see this as much. But that became so popular that it grew and it pushed everything else out.
And then you had celebrities walking in there.
Well, yeah. So then what happened was that was from the basement of my home. And once I got my paperwork and green card and everything, I could actually open a proper store. And I had, I'd done my master's in stage film design. So you also learn costume design. So with that knowledge and that sensibility, you're able to design for the limelight. Colors change in the spotlight. So I would actually, my specialty became to design for celebrities, not just film stars, but also politicians, because I was in Washington, DC. So that place is rife with the senators and their wives and everyone. So it's very proudly said that it's a one-time wear. You wear it again, everybody has recognized you. You're not going to be able to repeat it again. And it was an amazing journey, because it allowed me not just to get creative to whatever extent I wanted. People were very experimental, but you also get to meet a lot of people and you get to share stories. And you would have experienced when you're trying to design the perfect outfit, get the perfect outfit, you share a piece of yourself with the person. And to me, I love connecting with people on a one-to-one basis. I love hearing their stories, and I love I love listening to them. So it was a beautiful time, and we did a whole bunch of fashion shows. We had awards, we had events, and it was quite a wonderful journey. It's not as easy as it sounds to start a business there. Starting it is actually not as challenging, because you have local resources like small business administration. If you go there, seek help, they put you on to bank managers, they put you on to everyone, they run you through your business plan, they kind of help you survey the market and everything, they help you do that. The challenge is getting people through the door. That's the bigger challenge. And when you're a small business, you're from India, and you're brown in color, you don't talk with an accent. So people come in and the first thing they want to know is, what is the discount available? And how much can we not pay you? So holding your own and having a dignified presence was the real challenge. And that just takes hard work and being transparent and honest with your people. So that was a very interesting journey. And
I believe you also had to learn accounting and,
So yeah, that was the other hat I wore, because that was the family business, a tax and accounting firm. And right around the time when the boutique kind of settled, it was doing fairly decently. We decided to open our own tax and accounting firm. And as with all new businesses, you know how it is, right? You're doing everything yourself. So I had to train myself into doing math and tax and accounting. I had promised myself I would never do anything to do with math in my life, but here I was doing tax and accounting. But I realized that I don't actually have to do the math. The software does that for me. I have to know how to creatively use it within the parameters of the law. You know, the numbers that are given to me, what do I do with it? So I found that there was creativity in there. And so literally there was the office and there was the boutique and there was a back door connecting it. So I would have one foot here and one foot there. And, you know, I don't know how I did it, but I enjoyed the tax and accounting part quite a bit.
End of the day, I think what you enjoy is what you do. And yeah, and sometimes you also sort of want to do something more beyond that.
I think it's more of finding a way to enjoy what you need to do. So you know that this is what you need to do. So how can I find my joy within that? And you know, take it from there, because you don't always get to land on that perfect, ideal work that you always dream
Passion,
of.
yeah, and then there's a purpose,
and there's purpose, and then you find your joy in that.
Yeah, great learning from there. While I thought that you know, we all needed to know different businesses and different walks of life that you all have dealt, there's some things that we as women come with, and some of the questions that are asked by young entrepreneurs are like, there's so many things, there are so many you know, loans that people are getting. There are a lot of things everybody's talking about, startups, there's a lot of buzz around that. I mean, but the Startup India only has about 13% of entrepreneurs as women. So which is a very, very big gap with what we are trying to understand and we do. So what in your opinion is that we could change this? I'll pass this question around rather than having to answer. But if you have the answer for that, I would love you all to just share your views on what can be done as women here. And there are so many of us here.
If I can, so I personally feel that, you know, why is it so? It is because of a mindset. You know, it's not just, it's not enough to just place all the responsibility in the male hand and say, hey, you're not giving the opportunity. I think as women, we also need to shift our mindset that, you know, you can do this. And this starts completely at home when the kids are small. That's where the fine tuning happens. That's where we are hard coding it into their DNA. That even the conversations you have with kids, you know, many families are talking to their boys about business, but to the girls are talking about dolls. And no matter how forward thinking they are, they end up doing that subconsciously. So it's like this at you know, at the childhood level itself, we need to start retraining and reprogramming how we raise our kids, and let the woman feel empowered that she can do it. Yes, of course, it's, you know, men are out there to not let it happen. They're out there, we know it. I mean, I can call it and say it, that they would love to not see you rise. There are a lot of people like that out there. But if you begin to believe their narrative that maybe I'm actually not capable, and that's nagging at you in the brain, then you're adding it to your own weight. And that weight can only be lifted if you have a supportive environment that has not nurtured that wrong thought process. So for future generations, I feel that's the answer, you know, that we have to retrain how we bring up our kids. In the current scenario, I mean, I let one of the other esteemed that people what to do about it.
Mahima, I totally agree with you. I think if we uproot it, it's right going down generations. Even I take myself, similar story. But yeah, society is changing, and what we need to do to bring that statistics of 13% to a 30 and to a 60 and whatever in the coming years would be a lot of awareness, like programs like whatever thought process mindset Mahima is talking about. We must bring that out from the very beginning, from education, from at home and every environment that one is growing up. And the next generation is already, I feel, a lot better. But at the same time, I mean, it's a fact that, okay, we are getting into a very different conversation here, but this whole gender discrimination, all of that, but it is a fact that women do have to juggle roles, and it is, one can't forget that or surpass that. So, you know, I was going to talk about it later, that it would be better to also on a social level create an environment where, you know, there are more creches, where, you know, very, very good, trustworthy, yet pocket friendly spaces where mothers could leave their children taken care of, and or the men have to change their mindset too, that they could take care of children equally, or it's a lot. It's a huge, maybe another panel discussion on this.
Absolutely. I know it's a huge topic and a burning topic. Do you want to add anything, Raj?
I totally agree with what both of the wonderful entrepreneurs have talked about here. But just thought I'll throw a perspective on if I were an angel investor. Investors only look for making money. There is no gender bias. There is no gender discrimination. I think as far as women are concerned, women have to be more confident. No entrepreneur starts with knowing it all, whether it is a male or a female. And I do agree with you, Garima, that yes, women do juggle a lot of things, and that's something that is part of my history as well. But first and foremost, if a woman can believe, as the stories that I've heard from Jaya and from Mahima and you, Garima, believing that I can make a difference. I have the skill in me. I want to add value. I have a great idea. To first believe in that. And then you can build the tools. You can learn, you can outsource, you can do whatever it is. Every one of them mentioned that, either they didn't know this, they didn't have this idea, they didn't know financial savviness, they didn't have business tools, but you can build those tools. And then you become what you have to become. Being an entrepreneur is not a hobby, and it is not a part-time job. You have to wake up to that every day. So I guess from that perspective of being an angel investor, or any investor for that matter, they only look for, do you have a good idea? And do you have confidence that you can grow this business and scale it? Then you will have a line of investors.
Thank you for that. Jay?
What I feel is these are the best times for the women of the world and in India, because throughout the ages, if you see the kind of freedom that women have now is enormous. And if a lady makes up her mind, or if a girl makes up her mind, she can do anything what she wants. There's nothing that is stopping her. Okay, because as far as investing is concerned, there are so many angel investors like Raju who are there out there to put money in what we want to do. Because if you have a passion and the longing to do something, definitely we can make things happen. When it comes to like something like a family business, like when you're going asked to go to the office, it's better to go and sit there. When you sit there, don't just sit there, ask questions. We have to open up our mind. We have to open up our mouth and and make them know that, okay, we are here. We are not sitting here dumb. We are here to listen. We are listening to you. We are also asking you questions. We have to make a presence felt. Anywhere and everywhere we go. If there is a will, there is a way. And surely there's so much of investment is also coming up for great ideas.
Thank you. I think taking the center stage in every place that you want to be heard, seen, I think that's where I think it's a good way. Thanks for those wonderful insights. I have 5 more minutes, and I thought I will leave 10 minutes for people to ask questions. But within that 5 minutes, I just want to ask another question. One aspect that many early founders do not pay adequate attention to is to legal compliance, and generally get sort of stuck in certain areas, and then they go back and redraw the whole thing. In your experiences, why is that, and why must there be a focus on legal compliances moving forward? Because I think we're talking about consumer business here, or any other business. So do you want to take that up, Jaya? Or okay.
Sure. Why is it important? I think it's a no-brainer. If you're not compliant, you're going to get into trouble. You're definitely bound to get into some trouble down the line. But why are people doing it? As an entrepreneur, you're full of these ideas. You have so much of enthusiasm for the idea, that which you're going to do. And you tend to get caught up and swept away in the emotion of it, in the wave of that. And if you don't have any kind of educational background or inspiration in front of you, who you can get guidance from on these matters, it's very easy to not think about that in terms of compliance. You go with the flow, how I'm going to execute this, what are my logistics in terms of executing my idea. You're so hung up in the idea so that could be one of the reasons. Secondly, maybe your educational background has not involved anything to do with compliance. For someone maybe perhaps who's come from an art-related background, who has not possibly studied anything to do with that in their life. They may have a fantastic business idea that has to do with the arts, but since they have not had that thought process before, it's not going to emerge out there. And but I have seen whether it's a business or it's a non-profit, compliance is supreme. Especially as a non-profit, I feel it's even more because they look at you as guilty even before you've done anything. You have to really keep an account of every rupee you spend. So it's so much easier to keep it straightforward, plan for it in advance, keep it clean, and you sleep easier at night. And like I told you in the beginning, if this is not your forte, just outsource it, get someone to do it for you.
Good point.
I think it's like a prerequisite for success. I started by registering my brand, my company. We've paid sales tax from the first product we ever sold. And I know so many people who are doing fantastic with their manufacturing. They approach us for reselling their products from our stores, but they're doing it from home. They do not have confidence. They do not have guidance. They don't have mentors. They are not even able to raise an invoice, leave alone pay tax to the government. So I think it's a whole system, the society, where even consumers come to the shop and sometimes they ask for a GST free product, and there are a lot of things like legalities from every angle. And
I think with the new GST and the laws around taxation, it's very, very complicated.
And I feel like this lack of confidence that people have when they start, they have a startup, and it's also because it's made very ugly, and it is very hard to come around legal things. I mean, so much so that I'm sitting here on this panel. I do take help from my husband for any of these, GST filings or those kind of things. I could take it up, but then I'm very design strong, and I'm very, passionate about my product. And if I'm going to spend my energy and not outsource that, it gets so for a startup or for a small enterprise, all that becomes very hard. So I wish that in the coming years, if those legalities can be simplified and made accessible for young entrepreneurs or startups.
This is the last question, and this is for both Raji and Jaya. How do you see consumer brands scaling up, raising funds, or consolidating? Jaya, want to?
Now, with this advent of technology, there is so much of awareness about different kind of products, and the youngsters out there, they have fantastic ideas. Like some outlandish ideas they have, but some of them, they don't have the capital with them. Now that venture capitalists and private equity funds, they're all there. People are ready to put their money in that, and the companies are growing. So that's why we have so many unicorns like Swiggy, Paytm, Zomato, and all that. There is so many, so much of support for all that, and all these smaller, startups are flourishing because of this kind of funding that is coming up. So coming to Sadev, luckily we have good mentors, and initially Cholil has been funding us. Now that we see that there is a lot of attraction for the brand, the kind of consumers, once they come to the brand, they are always loving the brand, and they're coming back with more of their friends and families. So now at the moment, we are only in the online platform, and we are selling from our own website and Amazon and Nika, etc. But there is a lot of interest in our brand. So many other angel investors are asking whether they can invest in our brand. Definitely, we'll be looking into that, because from this year, we are planning to expand the brand. So definitely we'll be looking into that.
Thanks, Jaya. So do you think it's consolidating in terms of segregation? And there's so many that is coming up. So probably I want you to take that.
Before I answer that question, I did want to add something from the perspective of a partnership on the compliance bit. in my experience, I've seen that there is no provision there for partners to understand how there will be a value add from an investor perspective. So many a time there are fights between partnerships because there is no value add from the promoter, whereas the other entrepreneur is just slogging away, and it leads to a lot of partnership fights. So it is important that one gets educated on the compliance, and one gets a partnership involved in what is happening on a day-to-day basis. And most of the time I've seen the challenge for an entrepreneur is to manage an investor, especially if the business is very successful. If it's not successful, the investors will not trouble you so much. So I just wanted to add that part. On segregation and to consolidate. Well, with all of these technological advancements, anything is possible. In fact, I really was very much on the fence on this answer because we don't know how it's going to go forward. We have all these small shops all around in India, especially. Will they all come together? All these putti kades, as we call them. Will they all? Yes, I mean, will these advancements with WhatsApp and everything else, will it reach out to them? Will they be able to consolidate and come together? But looking at the way GPay and everything has just taken over, everybody, including a flower vendor in front of a temple, is willing to get paid by GPay. So yeah, looks like there is a possibility. But will there be these pottikades in and around? I still feel yes. It's if you cater to a customer's need, you will not go wrong in your business. So that's my take.
Everybody has a share. Jayashree, are we okay with the time? Yeah. So I think I'll request, we have some questions from the audience, and if somebody can pass the mic.
I have 50%. And also first thing is your name of the company is a bit tricky, Kindness Foundation. First time I'm hearing. Anyway, it's good. Congratulations for that. First time, I'm hearing. And in this world, see, totally majority of the people, just for mere living, we are killing animals. That is non-vegetarians. Only few minuscule persons of people are resorting to vegetarianism. That means we are slowly moving towards unkindness. In this unkind environment, how do you feel your kindness organization can exist? That is one aspect of it. And the second thing is mere talking about killing animals, vegetarianism, it won't help. Unless otherwise, there must be a transformation within. You have to be kind and compassionate. So what techniques you adopt or you suggest in order that a person shall become kind? And can I ask you? And it's also mentioned that you are Isha Foundation, you got experience, and also that is. Yes, India shall lead in the business environment. In the business environment, how do you feel the spirituality of India in general and your experience in Isha Foundation will help?
Like you rightfully noted, we are called the Kindness Foundation because we are very clear about what we think the world needs more of. And we do that by it's not just enough, like you said, to talk about stories or to say this is right or that is wrong. You have to live it. You have to be the example. So let's take what you're talking about, kindness to animals itself. People are veg or non-veg. I feel, who am I to judge anyone else for their choices? Can I look at my own life? Can I see what I do? And is that truly representative of what I talk about? And if I have the capacity to live that kind of life, then and only then can I tell someone else about it and hopefully maybe inspire someone else. So, we talk about vegetarianism, but even within vegetarians, And as Hindus, we consider the cow to be the mother, right? Gai Mata, we say. But if you take a closer look behind the dairy industry, what's going on in the dairy industry, it's nothing short of brutal cruelty that goes on with the cows itself. Because if you think about it, where is the milk coming from? A mammal only gives milk when it has given birth, right? Like every mammal, like human beings as well. And how is this cow repeatedly giving birth year after year, year after year? It's being artificially inseminated, and that process is brutal. So even as vegetarians, we can sit on a high horse and say, oh my God, non-vegetarians are killing animals and doing it. But it's really important, before we get judgmental on anyone else, we sit and think back about how kind is our own actions. Are we just sitting in our own pride and thinking we are right? Are we being righteous? Or are we truly trying to look within our own selves? That is the starting point of kindness. Before we preach to anyone else, you think about your own self, your own actions. And I have found that people see that when you take proactive actions to lead a kinder life, people see how you are and they get inspired, they do it on their own. As far as the foundation goes, yes, we do have a lot of empathy education programs. We run it in schools and corporates amongst women. But what really works is when we put it into action ourselves. When we go out there and there's so many different programs that the foundation runs. We can pick any one of them which are action oriented. We talk about it on social media, not as so-and-so has done it. We do not give any credit to the human beings who are doing it, but more to the action. And it's the action that inspires. If you start talking about, oh, so-and-so, so great, they have done this, that's pride to me. But when you talk about the action itself, leaving out the ego and the pride from it, that actually inspires people to take, do their own steps. I'll give you a very small example. We had run this, a very small social media post of 20 kind acts that you can have inside the classroom, right? Suggested list of 20 acts. And a week later, I got this message from some mother in some part of, some part of Tamil Nadu, I don't even remember, some obscure city, some obscure town, and said, we saw that post and my daughter needed to do a sharing in her class. And she shared that in her class. This was a third grader at that point in time. And the teachers loved it so much. They made it, they put it up in their classroom and they made it the classroom rules. And the principal loved it so much, the whole entire school has adopted those 20 principles as their kindness principles. And I'm telling you, this is what inspiration means. And this is what is the power of a kind act. You cannot measure it. You don't know how tangible it is going to be. You just cannot measure it. But it is a drop that causes a tsunami, a tidal wave. It just goes and it goes. This is one story. I have so many that I can share with you. Sorry, I don't want to hog the thing.
To answer your question on India and spirituality, I am a great believer that there are masters out there who are looking over us as individuals, as over the society, as a community, as a country. So I'm a great believer, and that's something that is very integral to India. And it's not something that, it's just my opinion. I think historically speaking, if you see, spirituality is very much an integral part of India as a culture and as a nation. As an entrepreneur, I think it's very important for an individual to have a multi-dimensional growth, not just be growing in one aspect. It just makes that person a much more capable individual. Women have that kind of a growth. They make better managers and empathetic leaders because of that kind of a dimensional growth, because they wear different hats. This is my belief. I was just sharing with a friend today that the juxtaposition that defines me is the fact that I have these different elements that I have in my life. I'm a mom, I'm a daughter-in-law, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an entrepreneur, I serve people, I give time to foundations like Isha. The tensions that come from that actually doesn't pull me back. It helps to grow me. And that's the way I look at it. So that is the juxtaposition that defines me. As far as Isha Foundation and my experience is concerned, I feel Sadhguru is a mystique who is just trying to demystify how we function as humans And some of the tools that has come from the foundation has just been nothing but beneficial. So hence, when somebody reaches out to me to give, ask me for my time to do something where I can add value, I'm more than happy to give that.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions, or? Because I have a lot, but I thought maybe audience would like to ask some questions. Okay, sure.
This question is for Mahima, because since you talked about service and creativity. So in India, in the IB program, which is the International Baccalaureate Program, there is a project that goes on called CAS, Creativity, Activity and Service. So it's so beautifully combined. What I'm trying to understand is from part of your foundation, because I followed your Kindness Foundation very closely, and my kid has participated a few years ago when you were doing your 1 week Be Kind projects, right? Why can we not take this inculcating that in the kids from a young age? This program is done only in the high school, in the 11th and 12th, which is by the time kids are already molded. So how can your Kindness Foundation help to see if schools can imbibe that in a very younger age? So
that's a very keen observation that, since it's imbibed in part of the curriculum, it's left up to the older kids. What about the younger ones? And I would say, if you think about it, empathy and kindness, all of these are virtues and qualities that people think are fancy add-ons. They're not considered to be essential to life. It's important to get good grades. It's important to get marks. You have to become, you have to study. Your life plan is chalked out for you, subconsciously. And all of these things are okay. It'll be nice if you're kind. And, okay, as parents, what can we do? And either you're a kind person or you're not. You're just not bent that way. Those are the kind of biases that we have in mind. But actually, empathy can be taught. And it is not a fancy add-on. It is a necessary must-have, as I'm sure everyone will agree. Empathy is something that when you experience it, you know the value of it. And only then you can start giving it out. So empathy can be trained. We actually run a Kind Campus program. There's a program that I have devised and structured, and it starts from very early ages all the way up. It's thanks to the international school programs, IB and IGCSE, because of them, it's become part of education. People have started opening up to the fact that, yeah, okay, fine, can bring it into the educative mainstream. I still find CBSE and central schools, the principals want to bring it in. They want to do stuff with it, but they're like, where is the time? There's no time. Syllabus, we have to cover syllabus. There's no time for anything. So those are the little bit of struggles, but that thing is changing, because I do find a lot of schools are opening up even at the earlier ages. So it's just a matter of spreading the awareness, and parents should say that we want this for our school. We want our kids to engage in empathy education. It's something solid and tangible, and parents recognize it, even the schools will give value to it.
Thank you. I think we are good with questions, and at the right time, I'd request Vidya Singh to propose a vote of thanks for this program. And thank you all speakers while we are here listening to your stories. I think it's inspired a lot of them today, and I'm sure there are many more that are going to be born as entrepreneurs. Over to you, Vidya.
Thank you. Thank you. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks today. I would like to begin by thanking the startup team headed by Raji Raju and Mala Chandra, and all the others in the team: Bela Kothari, Deepa Shah, Vanita Venugopal, Shilpa Krishna, Jyoti Thomas. A special thanks to our platinum sponsor, Satyabama University, our gold sponsor, Sadev Cholayal Trust, other sponsors, Palam Silks, Samriddhi Investments and Financial Services, KLP Projects Private Limited. Priya Gautam, who is in the National Startup team, for moderating today. Group Captain, Mr. Vijay Kumar, VSM Executive Director of Madras Management Association. He was very helpful with organizing this event at MMA. We would like to thank MMA for partnering with FLO Chennai and making this event bigger and more successful. The tech team of MMA for seamlessly organizing the AV, gift sponsors Juicy Chemistry and Palam Silk,
Deepa Shah for connecting and coordinating with Juicy Chemistry. A special thanks to Jyoti Thomas for connecting and coordinating with MMA and Group Captain Mr. Vijay Kumar. Past presidents, past chairs, GB members of Pan India chapters who joined online. Once again, I would like to thank the startup team for all their effort. I would request all of you to please do stay on for the next session, which starts sharp at 4:30. I would now like to request, just take a few minutes of your time. I'd like to request our President Jayashree Ravi to come up on stage and present mementos with the help of Mr. Vijay Kumar. We would like to request you to come on stage as well. Mr. Vijay Kumar.
Stay back or just go picture. Closer, so that's
Can I start a chart, please?
Yes.
Deepa, Leela, Anita, Naga, Jyoti, please.
Come down live on national television. Please come. I'm watching it 4:30 or something. They are speaking out in loud. Can you check the bill? Good evening, Bindu. You're there online. Are you able to hear me? Can you just put on your video so that we want to just do a check?
Yeah.
Hi. Good evening,
Hi,
Bindu.
hi.
Able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Good,
you.
good. Hi. Good evening, Michael. Good to see you. Are you able to hear me? Michael, you have to unmute yourself, Mr. Michael. You have to unmute yourself. Yes. Okay. Now we'll give a screen share. Would you like to, Bindu, you are operating the slides
Yeah,
or
yeah.
we have got a backup. We'll give you a screen share so that you can get onto the screen. Just test it once.
Okay.
Can you go ahead, please?
Shall I try now? Should I try now?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. 1 second.
Got it?
The recording has stopped.
Bindu, you have to go to the screen share and share your slides.
I'm doing that. I'm just trying
Thank
to
you.
present it. Hold on one second. Can you view it?
Yes, we got it. Perfect touch. Yeah.
Are you
can
seeing the
close it.
full screen or are you seeing the
Yeah,
control?
it's a full screen.
Okay, good.
Thank you. So you can close it now. There is they're going to show a video about flow,
Sure,
and
sure.
we are now ready to go.
Okay.
And looking forward to hearing you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So do we remain on unmute?
I think we can mute the mic for a little.
Technology Chennai.
Michael Foley is one of India's most renowned product designers. As the head of Titan Design Studio, he created watches, sunglasses, and lifestyle products, including Titan Edge, the world's slimmest watch. He now runs his own design firm Foley Designs in Bangalore that specializes in product design, packaging, graphics, environment design, brand identity, and much more. Foley Designs brings a holistic perspective to any design challenge and is now a leading multidisciplinary design studio in the country under his creative leadership. He is also the founder of TLV Solutions and created brands like Sculpt, Tilt, and Peace.
Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.
Mr. Michael and Bindu, you're there? You can switch on your video. Please, Jayashree Madam. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
This
We are
meeting
about to
is
commence,
being
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. One video.
Michael Foley is one of India's most renowned product designers. As the head of Titan Design Studio, he created watches, sunglasses, and lifestyle products, including Titan Edge, the world's slimmest watch. He now runs his own design firm Foley Designs in Bangalore that specializes in product design, packaging, graphics, environment design, brand identity, and much more. Foley Designs brings a holistic perspective to any design challenge and is now a leading multidisciplinary design studio in the country under his creative leadership. He is also the founder of TLV Solutions and created brands like Sculpt, Tilt, and Peace.
Welcome back, everyone. A warm welcome to my dear FLO members gathered here, our special guests, and I also welcome FLO members pan-India who have joined us virtually. For those of you who have joined for this session, we are happy to welcome you to this event organized by the Startup Cell of FLO Chennai. Thank you all for accepting our invitation and finding time to join us this evening. We are proud to have among us one of the most popular designers, Michael Foley, who has joined us virtually from Bangalore. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael, for readily obliging to be a part of this event. I also extend a very warm welcome to Ms. Bindu Shastri. She's a member of FLO Bangalore chapter and a part of our national startup team. Special thanks to those who attended session 1 and chose to stay for our round 2. I'm positive that this session is going to be worth your time. And to everyone who has joined us virtually, we hope you are well and staying safe with your families. Don't forget to join us for high tea at the end of this session. Now I hand it over to Bela Kothari to introduce our speaker for this session.
Thank you, Jayashree, and welcome everyone. An artist who is true to his art, an entrepreneur who built a company from start, an urban planner who has a vision for the city, a designer whose ethos combines aesthetics with functionality. Welcome everyone. Please join me in welcoming one of India's most successful and multi-talented industrial designers, Mr. Michael Foley. Michael Foley studied at the National Institute.
Thank you.
Michael Foley studied at the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. He first made his mark with his stunning designs that gave a contemporary makeover to Titan Industries. He joined Titan Industries in 1995 as a product designer, and in less than a decade, he moved on to become the chief creative advisor. He is credited with designing the hugely popular Titan Edge and Fast Track watches. In the latter half of 2006, Michael felt the need to take design to an even bigger platform, and the studio Foley Designs was incorporated in Bangalore with specializations in product design, design concepts and prototypes, packaging, graphics, environment design, brand identity, and much more. He has stamped his aesthetic sensibilities on a body of work which has a place in many Indian homes. Foley Designs is building brands that create an impact in people's lives and aspire to create a world-class design consulting firm out of India. The latest brand, Sculpt, is inspired by the rich culinary diversity of India to cater specifically to the cooking needs and intricacies of a modern Indian kitchen. The first product is the Nest, a modular idli tray. Michael has elevated design to a platform that is exciting, innovative, and reflective of what people want today. To interact with Michael, our moderator for the evening is Ms. Bindu Shastri. A core techie at heart, she is a passionate multipreneur with a vision of economic empowerment and self-reliance for women. She is founder MD of Moverick, a venture catalyst firm for business strategy. She is co-founder and director at Rasodaya Enterprises Private Limited, manufacturers of agro-oriented, water-soluble fertilizers and industry-grade chemicals. She's founder and creative director of Sparkle Berries, a handmade line of eco-jewelry. Bilva Foundation is her philanthropic trust that promotes the cause of the girl child. Bindu is National Strategic Advisor with the FLO Startup Cell and has held several positions in the past within FLO. They both believe in innovation, in creativity, and realizing dreams by breaking barriers. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you both, Michael and Bindu. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, so I hope the slide is visible. If someone can confirm. Okay, it is visible, looks like. Great. Are we good to go, Bela?
Yeah, good to go, madam. Good to go. All fine.
Okay. Thank you, Captain. Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much for the introductions. Hello, Chennai. So we are logging in from Bangalore, both me and Mike this evening. And first of all, I want to thank Jayashri, Priya, Mala, Bela, Vanita, Jyoti, and the rest of FLO Chennai, and Captain Vijay Kumar and the rest in MMA. And I want to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the FLO Startup Cell to the GV members of FLO, FLO members across India who have logged in, and the FLO Startup Cell members, and also some of my friends who have dialed in. So today I'm very thrilled to be having this conversation with Michael Foley, and warmly welcome him and also the online and offline audience.
Thank
so
you.
Believe me, when me, Mike, and the rest of the team who put this together, so we were having our conversation on how to pick Mike's brains, with respect to the design aspects, with respect to his perspectives, what his views are, what his challenges have been. I mean, 45 minutes is in no way sufficient for this whole exercise on ideation, design, and his personal journey, and of course his stellar creations. And all these stunning creations, I am very happy to share the glimpses throughout our conversation. So even as Mike and me, aspects, so we'll be also sharing glimpses of his stunning designs. So I just wanted to set the expectation of the audience that. So Mike, they say that there are 3 responses to any piece of design. So yes, no, and wow. So of all the designs that I have seen, your designs fit into the 3rd category. And so we want to know how you got inspired, Mike, and why you pursued design, and how your amazing journey, has been crafted out all these years. So over to you, Mike.
Well, thanks, Bindu. I think to start off early on, I don't think any of us would have had a straight path to where we are now. It has always been exploratory. So I think when I was a kid, I think important thing is I used to paint, I used to draw, I used to collect things, etc. And I think one of the things that kind of navigated me through this was this whole idea that this whole art form as such kind of got me to explore nature. And this whole attraction and affinity to nature really somewhere kind of navigated me to design. I wasn't sure about the design profession. I think when I was a kid at 6, 7, 8, going up to about 16, 17, design was still not known. And I think it was, I knew it was something in the creative space. I liked sciences. I liked the whole idea of geometry, proportions, nature, etc. And it kind of got me a little confused as to what I would like to finally do. So I actually had this whole thing of being an architect in mind, because at that point architecture was a reasonably well-known profession. And I think what I did, because I could work with my hands, build models, and of course paint and sketch, I think a lot of that kind of got me to say that it definitely is in the space of something that's creative. So I mean, I went on painting, and this is something I've done. These two that you see, I think when I was 15 or 16, where I was completely into nature, studying, collecting butterflies, flowers, etc., and then just composing things out of them. So that really got me to, I don't know, figure somewhere that my interest was in the space that had an amalgamation of art and science, but I wasn't sure. So that actually took me on to, I think, NID. I think even NID was, journey that was again through explorations. My dad found a newspaper clip saying that there was some opening for National Institute of Design. So he said, because he obviously had mentored me a lot through my school days in terms of what I did from a painting perspective, a creative perspective. And I just applied, and I still wasn't sure.
Okay.
And it kind of opened up to a lot of interesting opportunities. And I started realizing that, as a child, you actually have everybody, not just me. I think everybody has a sense of passion that somewhere reflects in their adulthood. And I think for me, it was this whole space of, I think, broadly creative in some way.
Okay. So can you just throw some light on this centerpiece that is displayed?
Yeah, so I think when I was the first few years at NID was exploratory. Again, I thought I'd be doing graphic design. So I joined graphic design initially, and I realized that that wasn't the space for me. And I then shifted in the second year to product design. And that's where I found the sweet spot of what I could do artistically and two-dimensionally and three-dimensionally. So what you see in the center is actually a trophy that was done out of electrical cables. Cut electrical cables and built these little miniature chairs. And these chairs are a classic design from NID. So I actually use that as one of the symbols for the trophy. And if you look at the one at the bottom, actually it's bangles that I had melted in the kiln in the ceramic studio. And explored this water ripples as such. So I broke bangles, placed on a piece of glass, and then kind of just got them to almost slump them into glass. So it kind of opened me to this whole interesting space of mechanisms, materials, processes, and I think that's where I ended up enjoying whatever I was exploring.
Okay, lovely. So this, I was wondering when I saw this, and for the benefit of the audience, for all the pictures that were shared, I did not have the heart to delete even one of them, because each one has a story behind it, and whatever piques our interest, we're going to quiz Mike today about what it is and the entire story behind it. So yeah, so moving on, how were the early days in your design career, Mike, and what was your experience as the creative head of Titan?
So I think at the junction of ending my design studies as such, I mean, I actually was already in some way inspired by watches. I think it connected this whole idea of typography, of geometry, and proportions, and everything that I was really interested in. And I found that as a space that worked. I wasn't sure whether I would be able to do anything in it because I've never done anything in the space of watches. So I actually had this great affinity for typography, and literally took that as my first stepping stone to design. What I did was really took a train to a couple of cities and then came down to Bangalore to search for an internship. And I went to HMT, and I then finally went to Titan. And I found the team at Titan very inspired by what I had done, and nothing was related to watches, but they said, why don't you just give it a shot? And that's when I, kind of completely got swamped into this whole idea of studying proportions. And I looked at watches across the world, deconstructed them in terms of how they were designed, who designed them, etc. And it really was something that got me thinking about this amalgamation that design is as a profession. It's not really about the specialization of product design, but the whole space that you can actually come from a particular specialization, but if you actually look at the the work that you end up doing, it's much wider.
True.
So to give you a sense, I think this whole my first introduction to design at Titan post my internship was designing the Tanishq word mark, and that was at that point, I give it a lot to the vision of the founder Xerxes Desai. I think he kind of connected with anyone with an affinity for the arts and crafts, and in that sense, I started looking at typography, and it brought back typography back to me in some sense.
Okay. So we now know the name behind the entire Tanishq design. So that's a good revelation. And here are some more pictures.
Yeah, so I think going forward with Titan specifically, I think one of the things that Titan opened up in my design journey was this whole essence that you really can't do anything yourself. You have to be able to, find the right partners. And what I mean by partners is it's actually more about being able to dialogue with an engineer, a person from the marketing space, a person from research space, and then being able to, translate ideas from you, because after that drawing leaves your page, it's actually in the hands of an engineer, then a manufacturer, and they need to kind of live and breathe the same thing. So I think what my tenure at Titan really taught me is to kind of be able to have this whole arm's reach understanding of other fields, and therefore you are able to dialogue with somebody across disciplines, and then kind of get him to or her to feel that entire essence that you want to bring alive. And that's what I think I spent a lot of time, about 4 years on Edge. I was very junior in that whole team, but I think the whole thing of multidisciplinary, cross-functional associations really brought alive something that became a benchmark for the industry at that point.
Sure. Okay, lovely. So my next question would be about your perspectives and your pet peeves. So while taking ideas to reality, right? So design is where science and art, they say they break even. So that fine balance is something that you have achieved in each of your designs and even in your ventures, right? So while taking all these ideas to reality, taking them to fruition, how should one proceed? And what should one be cautious about?
So I think important to have perspectives. Like if you're starting a journey in design as an entrepreneur, it's important to kind of be able to first, I think, be able to stand, for what you believe. And I think that really defines your entire journey in that space, because if you don't strongly believe in something, you kind of let it go at some point. And therefore, that's the first thing. I guess the second is to kind of create this ecosystem for yourself, an ecosystem that really defines who you can work with, relationships you create with, manufacturers, someone who knows materials well, technology well, and that ecosystem really is the space within which you kind of create, your ideas and get them to reality. So just to give you an example from this particular set of images, the bookend that you see, which is this curved bent ply, and I had actually created this as a sketch, and then for me it wasn't just about the idea. I had to actually go to a vendor and then say, figure out if it can get done. So I actually went to Featherlight at that point. They then pointed me out to somebody who did curved plies for the inside claddings of seats, etc. So then I finally ended up working with a whole host of manufacturers, small manufacturers, and started pushing them to think beyond what they've done, because they've never done a bookshelf. He's just done plain plywood, which is kindly concealed. Nobody sees it as a consumer when you see that bent ply. So here he had to expose his art, his craft, etc. So it kind of opened up a lot of collaborations. And I think, I would fool myself if I said it's just about the design. It's actually about how you can finally translate each of these, and everybody who you work with needs to kind of push that envelope.
Okay. Yeah. So, other brands that are popping up on the screen. So if you can just say what was, the challenge here. Yeah.
So this was the initial phase when I was just leaving Titan, exploring ideas, and I actually wasn't. I mean, given that I was familiar with the whole two-dimensional space and three-dimensional, I actually wanted to explore spatial design, furniture, fixtures, etc. And I ended up doing a restaurant. I never knew anything about restaurants, so I actually did everything from the design to the MEP drawings to getting a vendor to get the parts made, etc. So it kind of opened up and taught me a lot. Cafe Coffee Day, the first identity and rollout of about, I think, 1,000 cafes for this whole look of trying to get young audiences into cafes again. I started looking at multiple ways of working with different organizations. So the one on the right is an NGO that works with wood stoves. So how do you kind of work with consumers sitting in a small home in a village, understand how they actually cook things, and then I built these paper models to get them to enact the whole experience of cooking, and based on that we designed the product.
Okay. And CCD, for that matter, I tell you, it was second home for many of us entrepreneurs, because it was all welcoming. The entire design, it had that feel, that welcome feel. And I don't know how many thousands of meetings I would have had there. So
I think just a little story on the whole purple that came in to copy.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the whole reason for that color to be brought in, I actually pushed this whole idea that, your lives change in a coffee shop. You sit across and talk about careers, jobs, marriages, everything. So it's something that, so in a sense, there's a lot of creativity that's breathing with people in that space, not just the space itself.
Yeah.
And therefore, how do you express that? And therefore, I mean, I kind of looked at purple as an interesting twist to the conventional classical cafes as such.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so on to the next one. So again, another confession is it's very tough to shortlist questions for Mike, because I have some, maybe hundreds of questions. But then, due to time constraint, we have to restrict to a few very relevant and important areas. So one question on innovation and productization is a must. So Mike, when it comes to innovation, generally there is a tussle. And a choice has to be made between a product that solves a problem and a product that is futuristic. All the while, the designer has to ensure that the functionality is not lost, and the innovation has to be timely, right? It cannot be ahead of its time. So as a designer, and more so as an entrepreneur, how do you tackle this?
Yeah, so I think the big part of the bridge between popularity and personal satisfaction, I think the whole idea of being able to have, in a sense, kind of create this whole aspect that functionality is a given. You have to be able to solve a problem if you're designing something.
Yes.
It's not, design is not art. It's a bridge between, being able to humanize objects and experiences for people, and therefore, there's a lot of functionality that comes into. The second part is that when you design, you actually design for everybody else, not just yourself. Therefore, you've got to put your feet into several shoes and look at it from multiple dimensions. And I think that kind of opens up this whole idea that design is something that kind of is universal to some level, because you can't create objects for every single type and personality. It has to be able to fit to a larger, wide enough audience. I think the personal satisfaction bit, or pushing boundaries, creating things futuristic, I think India in some sense has not had the legacy of being known for design. It's been known for arts and crafts. And I think we need to, as a design community or creative community, push this whole idea that obviously India needs to be seen from that perspective as well. And therefore, how do you create things that are beyond their time? Obviously, there are examples of, the whole idea of concept cars. You see a concept car, it's never something that you buy, but you end up seeing a lot of the technologies in the concept car in all the cars that brand builds. And if you use the same principle or philosophy, you actually design for the future. You actually design any object that you design is not created. Actually it's still on a piece of paper, and it's designed to be manufactured, say, a year ahead. So you have to be able to predict to some level what changes consumers will go through. And I think that's getting shorter and shorter because consumers are changing very fast. Therefore, I'd say, I think there is a little bit of a predictive quality in design. You should be able to get a sense, get the vibe of what the changes are, and therefore to that level futuristic. I think there's a space for both functionality as well as being futuristic. Like I said, I think it's important to kind of get consumers or get organizations to believe that design can make fundamental change in the long run.
Yeah, yeah. And if you can just upon one or two of the designs over here, especially the one that you hang around the neck.
So this was done when Bluetooth was just about coming. This is about I think close to over 10 years, 10, 12, 15 years back.
Okay.
So this was a handset for women.
Okay.
And designed where there is a little bit of a, it connects with your mobile device, so you don't have to carry that. And you can pick up your phone calls using this pendant. So I was trying to look at this whole merger of jewelry and communication devices.
Okay.
And we created these leather electronic pieces. These actually worked. And they connected to a phone, and then you could speak through these within a radius of, I think, 30 meters. So in an office floor, for example, you could, you don't have to necessarily carry this around. So I think I was trying to see this whole bridge between categories, and therefore, how do you push the envelope in jewelry? How do you push the envelope in control devices? That center one is actually a remote, and it was done for a company that was looking at tactile search. So you use your thumb to kind of navigate something on a screen, and today remotes do that a lot. So this was an exploration around that.
Okay. And is that a mask? The top
That's
of the
a mask, yeah. So again, I think for me it was very interesting to kind of look at the whole drawing parallels. In this case, I was looking at masks for women, and how do I make masks acceptable, because masks typically look very medicinal in some sense, very clinical, etc.
Yeah.
And we started looking at scarves, at ornamentation, at garments, etc., and seeing how we can use those processes and build masks. And the moment you do that, it opens up a completely different perspective to making masks itself.
Okay, so I'm hopping over to your office pretty soon so that I can try out. You can use me as a bakra, so we can try out your new gadgets. I'll give you numbers. These look so gorgeous. Okay, and moving on, So yeah.
So I think in the journey as a company, you kind of first obviously set a team. I was at a junction when I said, is it freelance or is it setting up a studio? And when I set up a studio, for me, that was something that really seemed to align with me, because I had this whole sense of mentoring, and how you can't expand your vision unless you have many others who can understand, think, and live and breathe the same vision. And I think building a studio then expands this whole idea that a large number of creative professionals think similarly, and therefore it expands to companies as well. You get to work with organizations who then create the same relationships with you, and that itself becomes a creative extension of your studio. For example, just to give you an example of this first image on the left, we started a long journey with Himalaya. We design a lot of their products for them.
Okay.
But it started with the design of a calendar, and I think the whole challenge then was, can you look at a visual form that combines science and herbs? So we looked at multiple ways of doing it, looked at geometry. Then we finally ended up on X-ray imagery, because X-ray is kind of defined science in some way symbolically. And we artistically actually colored these in. So this actually became the base for the visual identity for all the packaging that you see on Himalaya personal care.
Okay.
And it kind of opened up a whole bunch of opportunities. The others, I mean, we do a lot of work with startups as well, and organizations that have interesting ideas on technology, and they want a design team to help, almost like manifest that in the form of something that is a product. So we've had companies come to us with very, very basic mock-ups, and then we help them build, for example, this Bluetooth speaker, which is at the bottom.
Okay.
It's a Bluetooth speaker that connects onto any bulb socket in a room, and wirelessly gives you surround sound system. So we take a technology, help them with how we can best manufacture it, design it. So it's like a hand-holding exercise that goes right up to a pilot of a product.
Okay. And because you mentioned both startups and mentoring, so, I was venturing into that topic. So what's your take on mentoring, especially in the design industry? Because, we do mentor designers who want to be entrepreneurs, among our FLO members. And sometimes we do observe that there is some kind of insecurity, that holds them back. They do not open up to their mentors with their actual challenges. So if you can just, let us know about what do you think is the importance of mentors?
So I think it's important to, we've gone through a lot of challenges ourselves. I mean, we've been at times financially really low, but the belief in the work that we do kind of carries you forward and gets you out of problems. I think mentoring really helps. That's why I do that as well, because it kind of gives you a guide in some sense, that an open guide who you can bounce things off, and it's not instructive in some way, but it's more inspiring and something that you can kind of build from. So I think when you mentor, it's about, I don't think it's about the design or the creative bit that you end up mentoring about. It's more about the other aspects, like how do you design to cost, or how do you think of challenges that a client has given you. There's a brief. Most designers, or many designers, think they're very restricted if a brief comes very constrained.
Yes.
But how do you get them to openly think and still push the boundaries? And I think that's where mentoring helps. And I think it also makes designers or any creative professional far more rounded when you mentor with somebody who's got a lot more experience. And I think it's more about the other aspects. It never is always about the creative aspect. It's more about everything else, because you've gone through the ups and downs, and how do you kind of get them to see the same thing and be, make them learn to fail. I think failure is a big part that most professionals are scared of. And I think I see failure as an iterative way towards perfection. So in some sense, it's if you fail, you kind of get up and you work on it and you get it better. And the more you do this, the better everything gets. And I think we allow that to happen, and we see that designers see their flaws and fail early enough, because you can't fail when you're actually practicing far into your profession. You need to kind of figure methods and mechanisms to keep improving without, and not at the cost of a client's. A client can't pay you something and then say you couldn't do it well enough. So I think we've kind of built enough mentoring in that sense to kind of help designers maybe at the early stages to kind of navigate through their profession as such.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the points about failure and iterative manner in which finally you get the result that is desired. So if you can give us, let us know about some real life scenario where something like a critical point or a turning point where which made you that much more resilient.
Yeah, so I think in some of the earlier projects, we had to also convince clients about our capabilities, because when I came out of Titan, people felt that I was just a watch designer, and they had read about me purely about watches. And at each stage, one had to prove to them that you could do more than that. And I think that journey went on for some time, but it kind of helped because it opened up a lot of the clients' minds as well, as to allow a person to kind of express their capabilities to a certain level. And then I mean, nothing is independent. You don't end up failing once you kind of break your design process into enough steps where you keep failing at smaller steps and then you keep moving forward. So I think some of the earlier packaging work that we did was areas that we just didn't get what the client wanted, and it ended up with, and very often this is early stages where a client is not able to articulate exactly what
Yes.
aesthetically doesn't work. So they might just say this doesn't look nice, or it looks very similar to something else, and you have to then decipher exactly or read between the lines, basically, because everybody is not articulate with feedback, and that's one challenge that ends up making you iterate a lot. In some cases, we've done 20, 30 iterations to get one right, and suddenly you see this whole eureka moment where the client says that he really loves it, and then we have to deconstruct that to figure out, what was
What
right
is it
about
that's
it.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So the more we did that, the more we figured out, and the more we preempted what clients would like. And I think it was important for us not to see clients as constraints, but more you're designing for a brand. The brand has a philosophy. You've got to fit into that philosophy, but they're not curtailing your creative freedom. They're saying you can do the best thing possible. And most often we get these briefs saying we want the iPod off, or we want the iPhone off, and it could be a stove, it could be something else. And I think it just is a sign that clients are also aspirational and they want to push the boundaries as well. So it's a great time now for product design as well. I mean, it's up to the creative fraternity to kind of push that as much.
Right. And I think nothing will beat patience and resilience, right? When you said 30 to 40 iterations, I was thinking, young designers or even entrepreneurs, not just in design, they expect instant gratification. Immediately, they expect that, something is going to be
I think
yeah.
That's true. It's in fact, that's even more prevalent now.
Correct.
So I think we kind of push to iterate as much and be patient about the fact that you haven't got it yet.
Right.
So I think, I mean, a good example for in some way of maybe how we kind of push the boundaries on, I think, collaboration, not just the creative part of it, but the Baton was a good example of how we were a small company, but we managed to get the right partnerships. We won the bid for the Baton, and it was about just taking that risk, saying that we can make this. I mean, we didn't have the capability to manufacture a Baton with electronics and everything in house, but we said, let's just do it. We should be able to do it. And when you break that up, I mean, there was also a sense of pride with whoever worked on this project. So we got Bharat Electronics to get the technology done. We got Titan to help us with the machining. Tanishq did the leaf, the gold leaf on top. And purely out of pride, I think it's more pride than anything else. And I think that kind of brought, I think what it kind of surfaced up is, if collaboration, all collaborations don't work.
Right.
But if you have like-minded mindsets, collaborations work. And this one worked from that perspective. I think it's important for designers to realize, this is a good example where, as a studio, we would not have been able to do this unless we had collaborations.
I think for the benefit of the audience, this was done for the Commonwealth Games, right? This is
this is the Commonwealth Games Baton, and we kind of come up with a far-fetched idea. We said we didn't know how we do it. We actually said we'll pick soil from every state of India.
Oh wow!
And,
okay, those are the soil bits. Okay.
Yeah, we were given 8 months to do it, from winning the bid to the games. So there was a deadline. So it was a client deadline that couldn't change because the games can't be pushed. So we had to break our processes and have redundancies, enough redundancies to kind of not fail at the end of it, but to fail at multiple points. So we got the Indian Army to pick the soil for us. Dad helped.
Oh wow!
Army. So he kind of, in 1 month's time, we got the Army to pick us soil from Andamans to Leh, and we kind of worked with another company in Chennai, Carborundum. We get to use their lab to kind of convert soil impregnated into fabric. We worked with a small security hologram manufacturer. So it was just a wide net of very interesting partners who were all.
We should make a story just out of this, Mike. It sounds so great.
So this had a good set of, from idea to reality, it was a really good story. And it kind of brought this whole, I thought that India is not, India is known about their historic legacy, but you don't see India as the future. And in some way, we wanted the Baton to kind of define the future. So technology was an important part. And just, I don't know if the slide has it, but there's the country colors that really come up in the Baton. So when the Baton moved from one country to another, the flag colors kind of appeared on the baton on its own because of GPS positioning, etc.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it went across, I think, 70 different nations. So we kind of devised it such that if it went from India to South Africa, it kind of picked up the South African flags in an aesthetic manner.
Wow. No, I think this warrants a story. That's a story by itself. I think we should do it. Amazing. And, it's good you mentioned the futuristic design. So I think we talked about this. So, you want to just throw
Yeah.
on these.
So, a quick thing on this. I think India needs both sides of it. I think we need solutions for really large problems or problems that are widespread. So the ones on the images on the left are about a bicycle design that I created, which was basically inspired by how desktops and computers are put together. So you could come to a store and, like a kit of parts, assemble your bicycle and cycle it out.
Oh, wow.
It was for the masses, so it was very simple, distilled down. Why have two brakes? Have a single one. The drive was made simpler, adjustability was made easier, and it kind of almost, literally got the bike down to the minimum parts that you need, and therefore it was about value engineering, but an expression. It ended up looking futuristic, but it was designed for the masses. And of course, the other side is a martini glass that I'd done, where I was saying there's no innovation in glasses done. How do you innovate further? And there's millions of ideas there. So we looked at this whole idea of a glass is most important to you when it's in your hand, not when it's on a table. Because you're experiencing it. So we said, let's design the martini glass in a way that it has legs only when it's standing on a surface. But if it's in your hand, it doesn't have legs. So we designed this whole counterweighted legs that just collapse together. And when you hold it up, it's just a single point.
Okay.
And you put it down. So it was kind of redefining an experience. And I think you can apply this to any product. It doesn't have to be premium.
Yeah, any handheld, right? Any handheld which rests on a desk. Yeah.
I think any product can be redefined in some way,
right,
for today's context.
Okay. I'm just taking it all in, I was thinking it is a glass. Then I had my doubts. I thought maybe this is too futuristic. It may not be a glass. Yes.
Yeah. So this, in the same light, it's important. Like I spoke about the concept car earlier. If you apply that philosophy to urban furniture, you can also design furniture that expresses the future of streets, and these become almost beacons to for people in the right position of power to kind of see and realize that obviously there's a lot more innovation that can be put in place for India. And I think urban furniture, pavements itself is just under. It's just not been
not researched at all.
At all. So we had looked at this whole smart system, and now you have smart cities. Yeah. So they're linked. The seats become navigation. You can talk to the seat when there's an emergency. The street light is a pole that tells you time when you're walking past. It also opens up depending on the environment around it, so it gives you shade, etc. So it kind of became almost like an expression of what can be done for India. And I think this can be done on any street in India. It doesn't, it feels futuristic, but it's materials and processes that are very doable in India.
And even the commercial aspect.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think the scale kind of gives you a lot of
correct.
interesting benefits on on some of these processes.
Super. Okay.
Yeah. So so I think the whole thing of the last 2 years, we've gone through multiple challenges, but I think what it really opened up to is that people are innovating a lot. And if you have an idea, you should just be confident and realize that there's maybe 1,000 more people who have the same idea. And that's what we realized when we were doing these. And everything was happening literally overnight. So when we designed a cardboard bed, there was already something happening with 5 other vendors, and they were doing ideas that are similar. I wouldn't say the same, but obviously it's a sign that this kind of a challenging time kind of pushes everybody to kind of be a lot more creative. And I think that's what really came out in the last 2 years. Businesses that had start looking at design for support in terms of shifting them to something else. And I think the important thing is what I realized here is if you have an idea, don't sit on it, just move as fast as you can, because there are many others who are working on something similar. and the one who gets it right, is finally successful. So I think that's a learning from this whole pandemic as such. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So coming to, one of our favorite topics, I guess, even the audience will be nodding their heads, I hope. So at FLO, our mission is to empower women across all strata, from grassroots to mid-level to boardrooms, and of course, entrepreneurship. And that is the basic mantra of the FLO startup cell. So coming to the domain of design, what are the unique challenges that women designers face, or designer entrepreneurs, if I can call them that? So what would your advice be to these women? And I'm sure some are there in the audience, whether offline or online today. And what would you advise, Mike? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think unlike say some of the other professions I know, I think design in itself has been pretty inclusive. And as I see it, when I was at NID, it was about 50-50 boys and girls when we joined. And but industrial design was 1 girl and 5 boys, literally.
Yeah.
It was more in graphic design. So I think one of the things about these areas, certain areas like industrial design, engineering, etc., have typically not seen as many women entrepreneurs in that space as, say, in communication design or in any of the other maybe more digital design space. So I think one of the things is to it's a time when I think men and women are seen equally, obviously. But the challenges that I see are, even if you have a family, I think the woman ends up being the caregiver, primary caregiver of a child. So there are challenges of multitasking. And I think that's far higher for women than for men. But what we realized is that over the last 2 years, most in the creative field have realized working from home has an equation. It works for some, doesn't work for some.
True.
But I think it's important, like I said, to kind of maybe create your set of your ecosystem, like I mentioned earlier, that allows you to either, whether it's the mentorship, whether it's translation of ideas, who do you look forward for conversion of things. Once you create that, I think the difference between, say, men and women kind of dilutes down further in terms of at least the accessibility that is available today. But we also try and, I do feel that women have a softer aspect to even leading, so they can manage egos better than men. So in some sense, it's a good, it would be nice to see a lot more women in the design space. And I see that happening already. So it's, if you look at the proportion of boys and girls in the current design colleges, I mean, it is pushing more towards girls and less, so that the signs are very good. And I think design as a field has really been quite inclusive that way. So it's a good sign for at least entrepreneurship for women now.
Okay.
The basic things of understanding cost, managing things other than the creative field are the big ones that one needs to kind of constantly look at, and each person has a solution. I think if you find the right mentor or you find the right partner, I think that kind of that dynamic is different for each individual in the creative space. And I think once you set that, I think the space is completely open to kind of conquer.
Yeah, I think, they have to reach out more and leverage whatever resources are available. So, yeah. And we'll be in touch with you, Mike, because you mentioned mentoring so many times, and we do have our designer entrepreneurs. So, we'd love to have one session with you for that as well.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. So, coming to the force behind it all, your family. So we'd love to know about your family as well and how they've been supportive.
Yeah, so I think if you look at the past and present as such, so I think my parents did a lot to kind of, at a time when I would say engineering and medicine were the only professions that you would have to even think about. My parents kind of guided us in a space where it was creative. They also weren't sure where we'd end up, but they encouraged us to do it. I think primarily because they were creative themselves. My dad and mom both paint, and
Okay.
I think we kind of picked a lot of our interest in crafts and etc. From there, and I think that openness kind of got us into the streams that we are in today. We also traveled a lot. I think, given the army background, we traveled a lot, and we got accustomed to change very fast, and that was a big virtue. Especially when you're an entrepreneur, you should be able to adapt to change. You should be
Yes.
able to take risks very fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of that openness kind of came there. Today, I think it's my wife and daughter, and they kind of give me a lot of rootedness to reality, and figure out do the right things. I think I would say a more well-rounded perspective that comes to me when I'm with them. And I think with my daughter, there's a lot of honesty and feedback. Sometimes you really have to try hard to do something really well, and so I think it's a lot more holistic now in terms of
Okay.
there's a lot more to design. It's about career is one part, but I think you need to build a lot of facets to life, and I think that's something that I see more with my family.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that with us, Mike. And just a peek into the future, you have multiple ventures, and each of them have diverse solutions and diverse designs. So a sneak peek into that. So if you can walk us.
Yeah, so I think, given the consulting background and what we've done for clients, we said we've learned adequately to kind of understand what consumers would want or desire, and that kind of got us to build brands. So we built Tilt, we built Sculpt. We've kind of constantly looking at how we can kind of reach out to consumers directly. I think we currently, as a studio, reach out through companies and brands we design for, and then the brands land up in consumers' homes. So the dream has always been for a consumer or a user to kind of experience something directly from us, and that's how we kind of, at least that's what we have panned our future out as. Consulting has given us a good leverage of understanding the consumer. Now, can we create something innovative? So we created some very interesting products, tableware, chandeliers. We started innovating in-house to understand materials well. I mean, that's an arecanut slipper that's just made out of one sheet, that's just hardened and curled. So it's an exciting time now. I mean, it's challenging as well, because a lot of this is effort that, again, I mean, this whole learning of failing comes back here, because you've got to, break things down to the smallest details, because everything is your own investment. And now you really realize what clients go through, because they have to spend on every failure. If you go wrong, if a market design has not worked in the market, they've got to redo it completely. And it goes back to manufacturing, the costs and investments made everywhere. So I think it's a time when, I think, for us, exciting, because there's a lot of creative dimensions to it, but we'll have to tread that quite carefully so we can get things right.
Yeah.
So one of the initiatives we said, I mean, apart, let's give back in some way. I think we created this whole idea of peace, a piece of India, a piece of some part of, so we started this thought on, can we create an authentic souvenir brand and build things that have a consciousness to it as well. So we took conservation as the first theme, and we actually want to go into heritage architecture next, and then culture, etc. And we created these miniature objects of, as conversation pieces about, the whole ecological balance, and how every animal, flora, fauna, etc., all have a strong role to play in our lives. And that whole ecological balance is what we want to kind of, express symbolically. And we're creating a line there around that at this point.
Okay, this looks fabulous, Mike. And this is, I know this is the talk of the town. So I think I'll let you speak about the idli.
So over the years, I think we've always been, it's almost like air. You realize these problems when someone tells you this, it's around you. So, I mean, every state has a different, in fact, every 100 kilometers has a different culinary experience, whether it's the way you cook, whether it's the kind of ingredients. And we said, why can't India be why can't we create a brand that resonates this whole thought of culinary diversity, and therefore start with products with each, for each state, but obviously create this whole essence of joy of cooking, or joy of food itself. And that's something that got us to, craft this idea around food as such. And we called the brand Sculpt. And we started with South Indian breakfasts to start with, and then we designed this whole idli trays that we said nobody has done anything on the idli tray other than maybe one or two shapes and some change in material, but it's been the same. So we said, we looked at that, and the more we looked at it, something somewhere clicked, and we said, there's no flexibility in this whole space, and how do you, there were multiple problems we were looking at, and then design this tray that is modular in some way, so it is separate pieces that stack up, literally like a Lego kit. And depending on the pressure cooker you have, you can actually stack it up to 3 layers, 4 layers, etc. So it creates a lot of flexibility, versatility. It's easier to clean. It makes it a little more fun. We can actually now innovate further on this. So all these products are actually there to kind of create a larger line of products around them. So the thought is to kind of bring back, an interesting way of rethinking possibly steamers. How do we widen this whole experience of just look at it from the lens of bringing back joy of eating, cooking, serving, etc. And we kind of this is the first product, and this is not the last, so we'll have many more hopefully to come out soon.
Looks very interesting. And for the ladles, is it?
Yeah, so these are for dosas, and you have these magnetically clipped smaller spoons that just stick onto the handle.
Oh.
So you can take them off to sprinkle or drizzle oil, and depending on what the functionality is. So the whole idea was to nest almost like a mother and child kind of format for the ladle. So you have a small spoon or an element that's fixed to the larger product, and this kind of again opens up to many more ideas that we will look at building. So this is again around the South Indian breakfast specifically.
Yes. Pretty exciting stuff, Mike. So I'm coming over pretty soon to your studio. Okay, I think I'll pause here, and I think we're doing good on time. So next bit will be pretty interesting. So that's the rapid fire, and we'll see how Mike is going to fare in this. So Captain, are we okay? Shall we proceed to this section? I think I hear a yes. So okay.
Please go ahead. No problem. It's so interesting. Another 5 minutes extra. I don't think Flo will be objecting. Is it okay?
And
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, it'll be even better, is what I promise.
Do we have any audience questions? We can do that.
We'll do that at the end.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, madam, please.
All right. Mike, are you ready? I wish we had done this in person, but anyways. Okay, so the first one is, if you had to choose only 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
I think patient, open, and risk-taking to some level.
Okay, cool. Good. So, book or movie?
Movie for sure.
Top 3 movies.
Oh gosh. All of them are old. There's Jungle Book, there's the Star Wars series. I like a lot of science fiction as well, and thrillers. So there's Unforgettable is another one.
All right, okay. You told the genres, but we'll go with it. The proudest moment of your career?
I think the baton was one. I think it was something that was a surprise and really elevated our spirits a lot at that point.
Okay.
Definitely the baton, yeah.
Yeah. And the toughest challenge that you overcame?
I think for me, it's, I mean, we've had a lot of challenges. I wouldn't pin it to one, but we've had tougher financial challenges would probably be bigger than, design challenges. That's creative challenges are there in every project. But I think there was a time when we were, I think we hadn't cracked the whole system of how do you collect money, and design. And we were all in this very enthusiastic stage where you want to design and just keep on designing. So we ended up with this stage where it kind of wasn't the right equilibrium. But fortunately, early on in our studio career.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And your idol, if you have any?
it's changed a lot. I think I mean, for me, the inspiration was an old artist, sculptor, designer, Leonardo da Vinci. I think he still remains somebody I look up to. I've seen a lot of designers. I've been inspired by many designers over my early years, but no longer.
Okay.
I see more inspiration in what brands do now, but not specific to designers.
Okay. Next is, if a movie was ever made on your life, what genre would it be, and who would you want to play your character?
Oh gosh. Not myself, because I'm not very good at acting.
Yeah.
I mean, actor, I would love Amir Khan to play it.
Okay.
But
what genre would it be?
Genre, God, I'm not. It's. I mean, it's going to be something which is about a struggle, and then hopefully something good at the end of it.
Okay. And those are his favorite picks anyway. So probably. Okay. And so what is your biggest strength in the face of adversity?
I think I'm patient. I don't get irritated too fast. So for me, it's perseverance. For me, it's perseverance. I mean, whatever the worst adversity, it's
okay.
If you persevere, you can get out of something.
Perseverance, it is. Okay. If you were not into design, where would you have been?
I would probably be an architect.
Okay.
Because that was the choice that I had made for myself.
All right. Okay. And if you could spend a day in someone else's shoes, whose would they be and why?
I would maybe Dyson, given the kind of challenges he's had in building a brand. James Dyson, I think just to kind of understand, I mean, that's like wishful thinking, but I would have liked that. Because he went through a lot of challenges initially to kind of convince people with what he did with the vacuum cleaner, and then finally decided that he'll do it himself, so correct. I think it'd be a nice inspirational story to see.
So Dyson it is, okay. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
I like to, I'd like to paint a lot more.
Okay.
I spend some time with my daughter. I'd like to spend more time with my daughter. So we used to do a lot of crafts together. So I'm kind of trying to see if I can make the time to get back to that.
Okay. And the last question. So what's the best piece of advice that you would like to give an entrepreneur? Maybe you would have received it and you want to pass it on.
I think the biggest thing is believing in yourself. And I don't think it's about how successful somebody has been before you, or anyone can do it. I think it's a question of putting that effort into it, and you can actually do it. So I think big is what I would say, and I think be sure of what you're doing.
Okay.
And of course, perseverance, I think for sure really helps. I mean, it really gets you to build from whatever idea you have, however far-fetched it might be.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for those answers. So I think we are done right on dot 5:30. So over to you. Who is there?
Thank you, Bindu.
Yeah, okay, I see you. Yeah.
That was a great conversation, excellent conversation. Because of sensitive of time, is there any questions from the audience to Mike? Okay, there is none. There's a couple of questions that had come to us. So, Mike, one of the questions we have here is, how do you see moving forward contributing to a better design environment in the country?
I think design education is something that's going through transformation now. That's one thing that I see as a big contributor to the design fraternity. I think there's a lot of design universities that have design as an option opening up, and I think it's important to kind of recognize that the next generation probably be far more there'll be a lot lot larger audiences of designers in the profession, the general profession of India.
The last question is, when you started your practice, what was the design philosophy? And certain things would have remained constant and certain things would have changed as you evolved. Can you just give us a couple of points?
I think simplicity is something that I have always gone by. The more you can simplify something, the better it will work, operate, function, and use. I think that's something that's remained with me. What's changed is I think consumers' preferences are changing much faster than they used to earlier. And therefore, how do you kind of reinvent yourself every time you kind of design something for the same consumer? So I think reinventing yourself has become a bigger challenge now, or a bigger need as such. And I think it's still a question of how do you make things simple, far more intuitive, easy to use. Gone are the days of user manuals. So I think that remains from a broader perspective.
Super. Thank you very much, Mike. And over to Mala Chandra for a vote of thanks. Mala.
Thank you, Anita. I am so honored to be able to present the vote of thanks today on behalf of our chairperson, Ms. Jayashree Ravi, MMA Captain Vijay Kumar, FLO members, past presidents, past chairs, GB members, and everybody who attended in person today as well as online. I want to especially thank our startup cells, both at the national level. Thank you, Bindu. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Aarti. And our local Chennai startup cell for bringing this event together. We are a fraternity of women entrepreneurs who are committed to enabling the success of fellow entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs on their individual journeys. What an exciting, stimulating discussion that we have just witnessed between our chief guest, Michael Foley, and our moderator, Ms. Bindu Shastri. Thank you, Michael, for sharing such amazing pieces of advice. I was busy tapping on my little smartphone. I have about 20 pieces of advice that you shared during the course of the past hour. And I am going to type it up and send it to all my FLO colleagues because they were so brilliant. I remember just a few of them, but you spoke about the difference between art and design. That was amazing. The difference between art and design and the need to combine science and marketability as well as production capabilities in order to bring something forward. You spoke about the need to understand what your clients want out of your design, which is no easy feat because clients are not always capable of expressing what they want. They'll say, oh, I want this to look like the iPod for iPhones. But when you produce something like that, they'll say, oh, no, that's not quite what we mean. So essentially, you need to have the ability to extract the requirements through a process of iteration and patiently working with the client until you say, aha, this is what you want. And so from that to the importance of mentoring, and as you all know, mentorship is an important part of the FLO startup cells initiatives. And so the importance of mentorship to guide you as you go forward, not that the mentors have all of the answers, but they are there to push you when things get tough. They are there to connect you and to think beyond the immediate failure to your vision and how to accomplish that. So as I said, there were like 20 or 22 different points that I have written. So all my FLO colleagues, you can expect something from the startup cell if you so choose to.
Please share it, Mala. Please share it with all of us.
Okay, we'll do that. So anyways, I know that the idli patrams were talked about, but I have to say that was the first thing that caught my attention. Because look, this idli patram, the vessel, I don't know if you understand Tamil, but it's the vessel in which idlis are made, haven't changed at all in centuries. There's still this humongous And if you want to make 12 idlis, they're of a certain size. If you want to 16 idlis, it just keeps growing in size. And it occupies so much space in the small kitchens of today. And so I love your, that's an amazing example of how to look at something that's old, established, and to deconstruct it down to understanding the functionality and reinterpreting the design for today's living and today's kitchens. From 2 idlis to 8 idlis, I don't know what the limit is on the idli patrams, but you can just keep adding trays to it because we make a minimum of 2 idlis, right? And for a family of 6, we might make 8 idlis. Huh? Oh, there are already people that have bought it, see in the audience. And so I think that was a brilliant example of everything you talked about today, Michael. So thank you for that. I want to also say, thank you, Bindu. You've done such an amazing job of keeping the conversation flowing and hopping from one interesting and essential topic to another, as we all think about idea to reality, ideation to reality. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So thank you, Michael, once again for sharing
Thank you.
hard-won knowledge in the design industry. We'd love to have you back for another session if you're so willing. So on behalf of Michael and Bindu, I am so proud to say that MMA is going to partner with FLO to donate face masks to needy children. So thank you, MMA. Thank you, Captain Vijay Kumar. Thank you, FLO. So
this is very heartening. Thank you, Mala. Thank you, Captain. This is very heartening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bindu. So just so you know that this evening is not over, high tea is being served outside. So let's just go there, and all our heads are buzzing with ideas. Let's talk to each other about it so it sets in our brains, and let's network and take the design ideas expressed by Michael today to its rightful place in your own entrepreneurship journey. Thank you for the opportunity.
So Mala, are we getting some snacks as well in Bangalore? Me and Mike.
Yes, do come. At least we can show you virtually what you're missing. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Ladies,